In 2016, Braxton Manley was just a sophomore in college with a business idea. From his dorm room, he started making Apple Watch bands using just sock material and his grandma's sewing machine.
We were making them literally by hand. Our first Black Friday, we were home for Thanksgiving with our families and we're just seeing the Shopify just ding, 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 ding. We had to make them all though. Like we were made to order. So going back to college, it was finals week and we were staying up till like 4 a.m, literally hand stitching on my grandmother's sewing machine.
Back then, he didn't know much about business, but fast forward to today, and his company Braxley Bands has sold millions of dollars worth of Apple Watch bands.
Most important thing for me when I was designing this, I led with the question, how do you make the most comfortable Apple Watch band?
And now he's getting ready to launch another business. In this episode, we talk about how to be early to big waves, plus a design philosophy that anybody could use to create products. And also, we talk about the specific tools and resources he uses within his own business and the new company that he's getting ready to launch. Let's dive in.
What's up, everybody?
What up, what up? Braxton, welcome. Thanks for coming in, man.
I am so happy to be here. This is awesome. Thank you, Mitchell.
Yeah, so we've known each other for a few years, and you do interesting things on the internet, and you continue to do so. So I have a bunch of things I want to talk to you about, including your main business. It sounds like you have a couple of them, which we'll talk about, but what is your business and how'd you start it?
In 2016, I found out about this 3-day workshop as a sophomore business student at Texas Tech. And it was called 3-Day Startup. Holds a 3-day like Shark Tank style pitch competition. And so I naturally signed up for this. I think I had just read The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss randomly.
Nice.
Got a Barnes & Noble gift card and had to pick a book. And I was like, what's this one?
Oh, wow.
And it changed my life.
Yeah.
And so I was like 19 at that time. And for this pitch competition, I had an idea to make just unique Apple Watch bands. Because the Generation 1 Apple Watch had just dropped. And I actually got it. And I realized that the band drove me nuts. And there was nobody was doing anything creative with the bands at that time at all.
Yeah.
And so eventually, did this whole pitch competition thing. And none of the investors that were there or whatever, the sharks, liked the idea at all.
No bites?
Well, they were supportive, but I feel like at that time it was early, I guess.
Yeah.
And so we started making Apple Watch bands out of a sock material. Like literally I was cutting up socks, stitching them by hand and selling them around campus. And it kind of caught on. We figured out how to run Facebook ads and even then TikTok ads, Snapchat ads. And we got really into e-commerce. We studied like the movement MVMT guys, what they were doing, Kramer and Jake. And they like super, inspired me to get into that type of entrepreneurial endeavor.
Sure.
And so anyways, I ended up graduating, moving back to Austin where I was born and raised. And I went all in on it. And this was probably, now we're going on 8 years in. So we grew it to, at one point it was worth, D2C brands were very hyped up for a certain period of time, and it was worth a life-changing amount of money, and we're still very much building towards hopefully a generational company here. Sure. But I'm happy to share that we've definitely made it through our own like trials and tribulations as a company.
Yeah.
And so happy to get into that and share some lessons for anybody listening. I want to be candid and honestly just honest and transparent about where I am as an entrepreneur right now, because I love it and I'm going to do it for my entire life probably.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think there's a few interesting takeaways. One, you had like instant validation and feedback, right? Where you're selling them just out of your dorm, sophomore year, and you're just doing them by hand, and you're like, oh, I can't keep up with the demand, right? And so you didn't have this thing, oh, I wonder if people will make it. I spent all this R&D on a product, bring it to market, and no one buys it. So you got the customer first, and then you're like, oh, this could be something big. And then what did you do in revenue maybe that first year, or when was the first inflection point where you're like, oh, this can maybe be a business?
Yeah. So, we were making them literally by hand. Like when our first Black Friday, like we were home for Thanksgiving with our families and we're just seeing the Shopify just ding, 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 ding. And we had to make them all though. Like we were made to order. So we were like, going back to college, it was finals week, and we were like staying up till like 4 a.m, literally hand stitching on my grandmother's sewing machine that she let us borrow. And we were at this really cool place. It was the Texas Tech Innovation Hub, and they had just launched. And it was like a maker space, work hub for student startups and entrepreneurship to kind of spark that. And so we had like 24/7 access to this beautiful space that was super creative and
nice.
Inspiring to do this. So first year we were making them by hand. I think we did maybe 50 grand, and we were juniors in college at that point.
Just you and a buddy.
Yeah, my buddy Grant.
Nice.
And so, by the time we graduated, it was we were on salary.
Yeah.
And we finished school, but like we were ready to like just go all in. And then outsourced production and really just started working. The people that we started working with on year 2 are the people we still are working with to produce the bands. So we've had a 6-year relationship with just refining the materials. Like they're helping us source stuff, and it's been great.
Nice. What was the revenue kind of like 21 to 3?
Yeah, I think 21 was our biggest year. We did about $2.5 million and moved almost 100,000 units of product of Apple Watch bands.
And at this point, there's still 2 of you?
Yes. My younger brother, Zach, has actually joined now.
That's cool.
And so, the company's had some restructuring. I started with Grant, and ultimately, like, my brother ended up being more aligned for the situation we were in. And
sure.
And so Grant and I are still buddies.
Nice.
But, yeah.
Nice.
Now my brother, Zach, joined, and we are, like, very much complementary in our, like, skill sets, which is really solid to have in my one sibling.
Right.
So it works.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, like, I don't know, maybe on short form videos or on tweets, it's just like, oh, here's the graph that goes up and to the right, and then they don't share the stuff behind the scenes of like, wait a minute, actually with some of these updates, it's really hard to acquire a customer and it's really hard to stay profitable. But you I think are pretty open about that. Can you share, has your number gone up to the right, or has it been a little down and up, or what's it look like for you?
Yeah, so it has been up and then down and then up again and then down again, and then but each time we go down, we learn and we restructure, and we are operating on a profit first basis now. That's what we had to do. So we read the book Profit First, which really changed my mind on it essentially how to especially do this kind of independent DTC brand thing, because basically after the iOS update that changed the relationship between Apple devices and Meta and made small businesses that were in DTC e-commerce, made them really struggle because ads got basically half as effective or twice as expensive.
Right. Especially your business, I'd imagine, so reliant on, part of the beauty of the business is your customer is very identifiable, right? You could go into a Facebook or Meta ad and say, users that have an iOS device actually have an iWatch or an Apple Watch. And then all of a sudden you're not able to track them as well. So I guess how do you pivot in a way to either acquire more customers, or at that point maybe you had enough customers to resell existing customers, or how'd you look at it?
Yeah, that's been a big part of it, leaning into retention and really developing a solid social media presence, one with soul. And we can get into that's easier said than done.
Yeah. No, your guys' page is beautiful. Not only the actual website, but the copy, and like you immediately, soul is a good word. You see the style and you're kind of like, oh, this is a cool like website and cool company.
Heck yeah. So
I guess also curious on that. How do you think about design, and do you have a design background, or like how did you implement that?
Design is my favorite thing. I essentially want to be a designer in my life, and like just design. The way I'm trying and building to orient this company to be a lifestyle business for me is so I can just play designer role, and I don't have to be like in the CEO role.
Yeah.
Or the sort of doing the things that I would rather not have to do as a small business owner.
Sure. And then do you have a design background, or like how do you specifically look at design for like the bands? Also, do you have some bands we could check out?
Heck yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, dude. So this is another cool thing that I was able to get into as a student was something called the University Innovation Fellows at the Stanford Design School.
Okay.
And so it was like this sort of partner program that I was able to get into through my university with the Stanford Design School. And I went out there for like 3 different occasions to do a sort of an intensive thing there.
At Stanford.
At Stanford.
That's cool.
In San Jose. And it changed my life too, because I learned all about design thinking and was just immersed in the Stanford Design School, like with their professors. Like it was really, it's world class, I guess. And I was just a Texas Tech student, which we weren't known necessarily for our academics. It was a fun school to go to, but anyway, that being said, design has always been something I didn't know before I knew how to define it as design. It's something that as a child I was resonating with, just intellectually, I guess.
Yeah. For somebody who does not have any design expertise, but maybe likes the idea of learning more, is there been anything that you've learned that has changed the way you think about it, or that's been useful for what you guys currently are doing with the business?
Yes.
Nice.
So, my favorite sort of design philosophy is function first, style second, and then the third dimension to it is like soul and inspiration and so
function, style, soul.
Yeah.
Function, style, soul. Okay, I like that.
So
can we rename those real quick on the spot to 3 Fs? Function, fashion, feel.
I like that. Yeah.
Okay, that'll just help me remember it.
So the most important thing. So thinking about the watch bands, the most important thing for me when I was designing this, I just sort of led with the question: how do you make the most comfortable Apple Watch band? And
solving your own itch. You had one. It was annoying.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And so making them out of a sock was very comfortable because it was soft and stretchy.
Yeah. And
it really felt like it just made the watch disappear on your wrist. And so then we realized after wearing a sock around, it kind of degrades in quality. So you need something more heavy duty.
You're literally cutting out a sock and wearing that on. Okay, nice.
Yeah. And so we landed on this.
Ship it.
Yeah. So we landed on this webbing material, and then we learned internally, okay, how do we make the lowest MOQ, best margin on this product? So we got really into sublimation printing.
Okay. Wait, real quick. What's MOQ?
Minimum order quantity.
Okay.
So as we were scaling the brand, we're like, okay, we want to come out with all these styles, but it was the MOQs were like, you have to invest into 2,000 at a time. We're like, that's so hard to do. And so ultimately what we figured out was doing the sublimation print is great because we can do anything on these things. It's a straight up blank canvas.
What's a sublimation print?
It's basically how we put the artwork on these. Okay. So it's done by submerging the fabric in water on a layer of the dye.
Okay.
And you can get it super detailed. The colors are super rich. Whoa. I mean, that one's amazing.
Yeah, this is sick. And so this is still at a factory, or you do this yourself?
Yeah, that's at our partner factory. Yeah,
nice. And
so they have handled the entire. At this point, they handle the whole supply chain.
I got a new Apple Watch. I just got this one on Amazon. It's all it doesn't feel very good. this feels like a cloud.
Dang, you bought my biggest competitor, the Amazon knockoffs.
Yeah, I'll be.
Because when we were the first, when we first launched Braxley, we were the only stretchy Apple Watch bands, and so one of the other parts of what has gotten extremely challenging for me as a business owner in this niche is the Amazon knockoffs and the Temu knockoffs. And now, this design of Apple Watch band has been commodified in a way.
Right.
And so what I'm going all in on is the artwork and that third dimension of the design philosophy I was talking about, which is soul or feel or inspiration. And we're doing that by trying to make these stand out as art pieces. It's a blank canvas, and these are conversation starters. They're ways to express something just subtle. This is a peace sign.
Right.
In times like now, having a peace sign on one's wrist is a really cool thing to stand behind,
Totally.
So that's the point, is to actually try to make the world a better place with it and not just make money.
Yeah.
Little ways to make
Right.
the world a better place.
And as any sort of like e-commerce, it helps to have fresh new drops, and then especially you have these diehard customers who are like excited about each one, and then you can build up a little FOMO in there as well. Or it's like, oh, I already have a couple, but actually you could have 10. You don't just need one. Maybe you only need one, but you build this demand by having these cool affiliation with the brand that they want to stand behind perhaps.
Yep.
Awesome. And so 2 employees doing well. Has there been any specific growth hacks either early on or levers that you've pulled that have been really effective? If someone's listening to this, they like the idea of starting a Shopify store or e-commerce, and or maybe they have something going on right now, but they're just a little unsure. Like, what has given you disproportionate results perhaps throughout your journey?
Yeah, I would honestly say it would be following the right people on Twitter/X, listening to podcasts from those people. There's some amazing mentors to be like just out there publicly, like
Sure. Yeah.
like talking about the latest game, and it's a way to learn about something like hyper specific.
Yeah.
And it can be so helpful. Like, and a lot of these people are very, actively posting, free advice, or like, what the latest app stack is. Like, I think the growth hack is in being cutting edge with the latest innovations in e-commerce. It's moving quickly. It's a space where there's a lot of innovation being had, and to just really keep up.
Yeah. What are some of like the tools that you use to keep up?
So we just did a case study with this company called Audit, spelled Oddit,
Okay.
and they are a conversion rate optimization design agency. And they basically are helping us redesign our whole entire display and feel of the website and of our landing pages for the best UX and the best customer experience and the best, most efficient way to raise average order value, which is so important in this whole meta funnel game, because it's either lower your CPA or raise your AOV.
Right.
You have to do one or the other.
Right. And at this point, you have repeatable traffic come to your site, whether that's through ads or just existing customers. I think for a lot of people too, it's like, how do you just get more traffic to the site? What has been like some of the specific things you guys did early on to get that awareness and traffic to the site? Definitely
through an organic, like leaning into the organic stuff as well. Like that is so important. And we've done a lot of like kind of funny publicity stunts, I would say. Like we got a watch band on Mark Cuban at South by Southwest, and the local, like the newspaper wrote about it, and then I was on like a radio show because he wanted to ask about it.
Yeah.
And it was in the Austin Business Journal, and we were at South by Southwest, and I had a bag full of product. I always carry product with me to give people.
Yeah, you brought some today.
Yeah, because like you never know when you're going to run into Mark Cuban, or whoever. But I was able to actually, Q&A thing happened at his fireside chat he had.
Yeah.
And I was the first one with the mic. I actually intentionally stood by the guy with the mic that was like the stagehand. I was like, okay, there's going to be a Q&A after this, and that guy has the mic.
Smart.
And so literally went and stood by him, had a bag full of product, and boom, Q&A, first question. I was like, hey, Mark, I see he literally had the Apple Watch on his wrist with the silicone generic band.
Oh, perfect.
I was like, dude, I literally have this Apple Watch band in Dallas Mavs colors for you right here.
Beautiful.
And it was just a random blue band I had, but we had every option, I guess. And so anyway, it worked. And so little things like that, I don't know. That's like a fun experience I had.
Yeah. I think I also saw you guys like early on just do simple things like I think maybe it was in the packaging, have some sort of messaging to get people to share the product, then you give them some sort of discount or something if they do.
Yes. Yeah. So we're leveraging Social Snowball right now, which has been huge, and they are actually helping essentially, we've always tried to incentivize our customers to tell their friends.
Yeah.
Like people are going to ask, they see it on your wrist. Watches have always been a display, something that like other people notice on one's wrist. And that's a cool thing. And so like, why wear like the most generic timepiece? You know, everybody has always worn cool watches. And so, you know, there's always going to be those people maybe that don't care. But I'm trying to sell to the people that think wrist wear and timepieces are something to be honored and kind of like appreciated.
Yeah. One of the things I think about a lot is riding big waves, especially having worked with Noah and AppSumo. It's just like he was pretty early to social at Facebook. He's pretty early to personal finance at Mint and social gaming, this company Gambit. And then back when he started AppSumo, there wasn't that much software at all, but you can place just a directional bet. And now there's like endless software, right? And so AppSumo being early to software and like combining that with unique advantages like lifetime deals and whatnot was a huge like moat. Fast forward to where we are now. I think a similar thing happened with you guys with, I think it was a very first generation Apple Watch where you solved your own problem, created this thing, and then you got to capitalize off of having a little bit of a mode of being earlier advantage to that. Do you think, I'd imagine too, as you go along, there's other ideas and things that could pop up now with the Vision Pros that come out, or like, I don't know if you've thought about Apple iPhone cases or AirPod cases or anything like that. Do you think about other products and to diversify, or are you just like, hey, this is working, we're going to keep stay here?
Yeah, I've definitely thought about all these other products. And what I kind of decided I wanted to do was build out around the fabric we were using. So I was like, okay, stretchy recycled material. I'm like, I love this material. It could be used and it could innovate so many different product types. So early on we made hats where like this stretchy watch band material was on the back of the hat as like a adjuster.
Yeah, that's cool.
And yeah, we made belts and realized, oh wow, this is a really comfortable belt. So it interested me to like expand on it that way. And it's still something we're considering getting into other watches. Like everybody asks, why don't you have a Samsung or a Garmin or a Fitbit? And the reason is because I'm like, you just named 3. You're going to complicate things for me.
Right.
And then there's obviously more.
Yeah.
Other smartwatches. But the Apple Watch has by far the largest market share. And so it's kind of a classic 4-hour work week, 80-20 thing.
Yeah.
Go after the 80% of the market, which is the Apple Watch.
Right. And at this point, you've been in the game for a while. You've seen a lot of things. What would you say your unfair advantages, or perhaps your zone of genius at this point?
Yeah, I would say it's being super lean. So a lot of brands that looked really similarly to mine in revenue and size and what we were doing in the space in 2021, they went bankrupt if they weren't lean or didn't have the agility to be lean.
Sure.
And fortunately, when ads got a lot more expensive and, you know, sort of customer acquisition cost it flipped, you know. If companies couldn't operate on, say, expenses at 0 and profit first, you know, they were in a real risk for bankruptcy. And so we were able to get super lean and rebuild and, you know, slowly but surely, like, put up profit on the bottom line no matter what it takes and make sure that, like, we're doing something. It just has to work. Like, you know, and you have to change whatever you have to do to make it work.
Yeah. And so now that you've learned how to make it work, having this profit first mentality, you've applied this firsthand to your own business. Have you then helped others with their businesses or identify other creators of like, wait, I kind of have this operational chops and perhaps like have an extension of your own zone of genius?
I would love to do that. It's been something I haven't technically productized yet, but I've thought about it like, oh, you know, being a consultant or whatever. But ultimately, like, I feel like that's also a different stage in my life from now.
Yeah.
Like I want to really focus on walking the walk right now.
Yeah.
And because we're still very much figuring stuff out. But like, so one actual example here of, you know, how do you bring expenses to 0? Because whatever. And we didn't actually go to 0, but you have to go to a place to match whatever revenue and whatever, you know, net profit you're doing to. Anyway, we just got smarter about the little arbitrage opportunities. So, for instance, we were during our, the frothiest point in this sort of business. We were paying a email agency $10,000 a month to write like 8 emails for us, and broad. They weren't really targeting, and it was easy though, because obviously it was like making it back. We're like, well, there's a huge ROI on here. But then when the ROI sort of wasn't there as much,
right?
It's like, okay, how do we correct this in the most efficient way? And basically what we did is we realized like these emails can actually take like 20 minutes an email or less.
Yeah.
And I met this guy, Jimmy Kim from Sendland, which is a new kind of up and coming email SMS platform. So we switched from Klaviyo and PostScript, which we were paying upwards of $5,000-$6,000. I mean, honestly, what more than that? $5,000 to $10,000 a month for it, depending on usage on SMS.
Wow.
We were able to switch to Sendland for email and SMS, and it's drastically reduced the amount we're spending in that retention category of our marketing.
Yeah.
Sendland's also, because their style is like they want to be really supportive, they've given us a designer and a strategist at the cost of the subscription, which was already less than Klaviyo.
Sick. And now you're getting more.
Yeah, and we're getting more. And so we went from my life hasn't gotten harder.
Yeah.
My this is actually smoother than it was, to be honest with you. And so basically it's so easy now because I'm letting the designer do 90% of the work, and then I'm polishing up that 10% and putting that soul into it.
Right.
Which I've found it's really hard for other people like agencies to replicate.
Hard to outsource.
And so it was hard to outsource the whole thing. And I think that honestly kind of messed up the direction we were going with the brand.
Right.
They sent messages and stuff that honestly weren't like how I would talk to the customers, or I wasn't how I would represent the brand.
Yeah.
So the way it's now is perfectly set up because financially it's way more efficient. And two, we've recovered like the soul to the brand, and I'm more hands-on. So like what I'm trying to do is be as hands-on as I can possibly be on anything that's customer facing, while being super efficient and finding ways I can save my time and capacity mentally. Yeah. But still, anyway, because I also do all the artwork on the bands, and I post on the social media, and I am on Zoom calls all the time and in the Slack and
doing the things you are excellent at, or more than excellent. That's your zone of genius. You want to just do that and have other, people doing the things that maybe drain you or that you don't want to do.
Yeah. But so one other thing we did that I would recommend to a lot of people is we hired a fractional CMO. So the retainer's $1,000 a month, and there's a lot of fractional CMOs out there. Yeah. I love ours. If anybody wants an intro, I'm happy to just reach out to me.
Nice.
And
how did you go about seeking this person, or finding? Were you actively looking for this, or you had the relationship, or how did it work?
No, I actually kind of discovered him. Oh, his name's Tegan Gainan. He's awesome. So check him out. And so I discovered him posting online here in Austin, and I kind of looked into it and realized, oh, this is really cool. He's a fractional CMO for e-commerce brands. And I realized like that position is actually super needed. Like we can really lean on him for just a lot of advice, but also communicating with our other teams. Cause it's like even though there's 2 of us as executives of the company, he really helps out as almost a third executive. And he's able to communicate to that sort of the middle management there is, even in a super small business. Like we have our virtual assistant who's now doing our influencer outreach. So we've been working with the same virtual assistant for like 7 years now. It's been amazing, and developed a super easy communication with him. And so he went from doing customer service to, when we started doing influencer and affiliate stuff, now he can also get on TikTok Shop and manage all this stuff for us. Right.
Yeah, I think it's so valuable to have outside perspective for anything, right? It's the same reason why as individuals it's probably a good idea to talk out your things with a therapist, or for a business it's a good idea to have a coach and advisors, where we have this a lot at AppSumo too, where we'll have like we have a marketing advisor too, Moody Glasgow, who was the former CMO at Glassdoor and Zapier, and now like he just works a few hours a month. But I'll be in meetings with him, and he'll be like silent towards the beginning, ask a couple of questions, and then he'll just like drop like some sort of knowledge bomb where we're like, oh my gosh. Like, for example, we were talking this last week about different tactics to like how to make up a revenue delta for an upcoming event, and where it's like tactic first, right? Oh, we can do this, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, why don't we just take a step back? I think you guys are really good at the tactics, but what would be the breakthrough, repeatable marketing motion that you guys could do? And so not just solving this immediate problem, but just like having a system to come up with those bigger ideas. And that was like a month ago he said that, and it's just been stuck in my head, where all it took was one meeting with him, and so now we're implementing these like weekly brainstorms to come up with that bigger idea. And I think that it's a perfect microcosm into our own lives. We're just like, oh yeah, we're just like always do this. Here's our routine, blah, blah, blah. But until you hear somebody else be like, wait, you could do the same thing, but just think a little bit bigger, it helps you get out of your own way almost, in a sense. And it sounds like that's similar to what you found with your advisor, or fractional CMO.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Are there any other things that you've learned the hard way, perhaps, or mistakes that you would look back and do things a little bit different, knowing what you know now?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, there's so many things that come up, I guess. It's been there's been so much personal growth along the way.
Sure.
I mean, I've really tried to also invest in my own like personal growth, like always worked with a coach, like, you know, a men's work coach, and going to like doing the whole like personal growth and spiritual development stuff alongside you know, I guess I do feel like that's extremely valuable. Like I've always, even when we had very little capital to invest in frugal things, it was like my brother and I, like we hired a men's coach and we're like, let's get through this, like make us the strongest people we can be to show up here and be able to like build something really impactful and valuable. And so, yeah, I mean, I made a lot of mistakes along the way for sure. Just, you know, I guess we all operate on like the best of our abilities in any given moment. We're doing our best. We're trying to.
Yeah.
So I think the important thing is to just constantly push the limit of what is one's like own self best.
Right. Or it sounds like also having a system in place, knowing that the output or outcome isn't going to be perfect, and that's okay because you're going to move quick, but it's not okay to make a mistake and then repeat the mistake, right? Having the process to like use this new information as learnings and autocorrect along the way reminds me of, there's all sorts of these journal prompt questions or whatnot, but the three I pretty much always go back to that are applicable to all aspects of life are just simply what's working in my life, in my business, in marketing, whatever, and kind of how can I do more of it? What's not working? And given all the above, what is the new learning that I'm implementing moving forward? And so it implies that you are looking back and learning from your mistakes and like, what am I implementing moving forward? Oh, well, this is working, this is not working, so therefore I'm going to do this. When it sounds so simple, but often we just keep on doing the same thing, and there's not always immediate learnings from there that we're applying.
Yeah.
The other thing, so you mentioned you pitched Mark Cuban at South by a couple years ago. South by's coming up here in like I think it's just a month. Is there a dream person or dream customer that could show up at South by that you'd love to be rocking some Braxley Bands?
Noah Kagan.
No, okay.
No, I did run into him at the UPS store though, and I told him I reached out to him at one point, but it's kind of funny. Anyway, that's a great question. I'm trying to launch my new gum company at South by. So I've been really focused on just how we can do that and how we can sort of first publicly debut this new project I've been working on.
Yeah.
So
can we get a sneak peek now? Nice.
Yeah. So it's a natural tree sap from Greece that is like the best chewing gum experience. I learned about it literally from scrolling Twitter, and somebody randomly talked about it, how this gum called mastic gum actually can develop your jawline because it's 10 times harder than regular gum, which by the way is now mostly based in plastic. And so, you know, I've always kind of been a health nut, and I tried this gum and I really loved it. And I started learning about all these health benefits it has, and I'm looking around in the space. I'm like, there's nobody doing anything cool here. It felt just like the Apple Watch. There's no, like, all right, I'm going to make a cool brand here because this is something that, one, I feel really inspired by. Like, I want the companies I build to be good for the world. You know, it's like, what's the point if it isn't?
Right.
Like, if you can do something that you have like full alignment with, and you're like passionate about actually doing something, your quality of life is going to get so much better because your meaningfulness of your work is important.
Right.
So I was like, this gum thing is cool. I can get behind this. Like, it's actually going to do a lot for people. And I've been chewing it for 2 years now, and I really feel like it's made me feel a lot more confident in myself. Like, just because it's actually like transformed the way my face even looks.
Like your jawline or what?
Yeah, jaw and in your chin and even just like the whole, like your cheekbones, like it's all sculpting one's facial muscles.
Okay.
By chewing this for, 2 to 3 hours a day. I brought some, but you don't really want to do it on a podcast.
Yeah, maybe Isaac wouldn't like those audio effects there.
But it's really a nice experience. And that being said, it's also really, really exciting because we're going to be flavoring it. So nobody's doing flavored mastic gum, and we're working with a food scientist to actually come up with like an awesome formula for us to flavor this gum. And it's like candy, but it actually has like legit benefits for dental health. Like, there's so many aspects of this that are a good product. And the beautiful thing is I didn't have to manufacture anything. I developed a relationship with a farmer in Greece.
Nice.
And he's supplying it to us, and we're co-packing it with the same partners we've been working with Braxley for years now. They have an ability to pack this up for us and ship it off direct to consumer.
Beautiful. Yeah, I think now that you say that, I've seen, I think on the Instagram feed, people taking the Huberman clip of whatever he's talking about, like jawline and those like products. But I don't think that they're gum. They're just like a piece of plastic or something you chew on for the jawline. Gum seems more like, I didn't ever think about buying that product, but gum feels like it more approachable or more of like an impulse buy for somebody scrolling their feed, right?
Yep.
And so you haven't launched that yet. You're getting ready to?
Well, so we soft launched it basically under a beta testing brand called Chisel Gum. And we bootstrapped it, like literally, we all put $1,000 into it, and we're like, let's do this as scrappy as possible, just to see if there's something here.
Get the feedback, yeah.
And didn't spend a dime on ads. It was all affiliate seeding. Like, we were just sent some to people that we thought would be, fans of the product.
Yeah. And
also had a audience. They post about it. Boom. This stuff is flying off the shelves.
Nice.
And so I'm like, okay, product market fit is here. This is working. People are excited about this clearly. And then, ultimately, I didn't start that with the intention of it being a beta company necessarily. But what I ultimately realized was I want to go a whole different direction with the brand. And instead of kind of going after the niche I was going after, which was the core, like 1,000 true fans niche, which is like gym bros that are like the esoteric health, like barefoot types, that are chewing this stuff. And they're really obsessed with it. But that's where all the brands are. All the players in this space are all in that niche. And I'm looking the other way. Like, what about women, children, teens? Like, when, like, children that, once you're like of age to be able to chew gum, which is, let's just say 5 years old. Yeah. You're developing your jawline at 5 years old.
Right.
And if you chew this stuff and you develop your face by this, you actually won't likely need braces.
Oh, wow.
So there's all these orthodontic implications to it.
Right.
Anyway.
So just sort of diversifying use case of not just these gym bros, other areas where you could sort of blue ocean own the market.
Yeah, and that's why we want to candy flavor it. Like, I want this to be on the shelf of a Whole Foods or whatever.
Right.
Just looking like, oh, what is this new little, like, candy experience, basically. Yeah. But, we're still formulating it right now, but the idea is to make it obviously like organic, super clean, like
right.
still good for dental health and all that.
Right. And this will live under the Braxley like brand or portfolio company, or how do you look at it?
No, it'll be completely differently. So, but both are family businesses.
Yeah.
So, but it's going to be called Mystic Gum. And so,
Okay.
yeah, hoping for a South by launch. That's about a month and a half out. They're packing up our first 100 kilograms of gum right now.
Nice.
So we're launching with some tenacity.
Kilos, baby.
Yeah, we're launching this time. It feels like we keep saying like second time founder shit.
Yeah.
Because it's this time we really get it, and we're starting completely fresh. And we were able to secure a little bit of funding to like actually launch this one with some tenacity and some scale.
Yeah.
So we can just launch it right. It didn't require a lot. We raised $100,000.
Yeah.
And that's going to allow us to instantly on day one start working with the right marketing channels and have the right looking website and have enough product to just be able to afford the overhead that is required to run all these channels.
Right. Yeah, and you've been in the game for a while and have seen what that takes. And so using your domain expertise there. The last thing I want to talk about is an observation I have known you for a little bit, and I've seen recently, maybe it's been a while, but I've just noticed recently some of the content that you've posted online with your girlfriend feels like a playful version of yourself, or just someone like somewhat different sort of tone or playfulness, and it's been really cool for me to see. So I'm curious, how do you look at that, and or like, does she have a business that she's working on?
Yeah, I love this question. So when I ultimately was in the dating scene, I was like, I want to find a girlfriend that is a founder. I really do. Like I want to be able to talk and connect about these types of entrepreneurial things, sure. The lifestyle. And so actually went to a random another founder's event here in Austin at Zilker Park. He was hosting a yoga thing, pop-up for his brand, his app. And anyway, met Maddie there. She was a young, strapping entrepreneur woman as well in the women's health supplement space. And yeah, we really connected over that type of stuff. And, now we live together, been together 3 years, and she has a brand called Peace Love Hormones, which I've, helped her just kind of build with her. But it's like absolutely, 100% of the credit is due to like her building an amazing Instagram audience, and an organic audience through content creation, and really providing a place of like entertainment and education for a community to thrive.
What is Peace Love Hormones? What is the business?
So they are herbal tinctures. They're really high quality, like custom formulas by Maddie. She's an herbalist.
Okay.
And
herbal tincture. What are they called?
Yeah, so it's a tincture form of a herbal medicine. Okay. So it's just herbs, herbal extracts. Yeah. A blend of all kinds of different ones that are suspended in alcohol solution.
Okay.
And the first one that she launched is called Soothe, which is for menstrual cycle health. And it's crazy. Like it's reading the reviews is really like a beautiful thing, because it has transformed a lot of women's lives, and even has helped with just like conception and stuff that is really important, Yeah. And so it's beautiful to see the impact that she's had, and I've helped with being an actor of sorts in her videos, which is fun, because I grew up a theater kid, so I love like getting to act in little like sketch comedy things, or be goofy on camera.
Yeah. I think, speaking for myself too, there's a lot in my childhood that was much more playful, playing pranks or playing fun games, and that I want to recreate as a somewhat childish adult. Are there other aspects of your childhood that has resurfaced in any of your businesses? Or on the other end, maybe it's like a childhood trauma or something that you've noticed in, maybe perhaps it's a pattern or something that you've course corrected for yourself.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, there's a lot around like the whole, I feel like, shiny penny syndrome thing where you're constantly like focusing on new things. And, I've heard a lot of people say, like, don't do two businesses, like just have one, like just focus on one. Don't get the shiny penny, the new app, the new agency, the new, thing in life. And that's like a delicate one to balance, because at the same time, like, I love working on, I really have 3 businesses right now and projects that I dedicate my time and energy to, and it feels good though.
Yeah. The third one being Maddie's.
Yeah, Peaceful Hormones and helping. So Mystic Gum is actually now a collab between Maddie and I and our brothers, there's 4 of us in the business.
That's cool.
Maddie and her brother and me and my brother.
Nice.
So
nice.
it's a really fun team, and I know some people say don't work with family, but like, it just works for me and my family dynamic. Like, we love it, and I think we really thrive in that.
But I've also heard that I resonate with more is just like, do dope stuff with dope people. And I've heard too many examples now of people doing dope stuff with dope people that include family, that include close friends, where it's like, oh yeah, I want that one. And so I'm very much aligned on that. I like that a lot.
Yeah. And, so I think there's a lot to talk about there too, around like just how much that requires, like honesty, and it really helps with, like, I think it being a great team. Like, we feel like that trust from the beginning, and like the communication is obviously there. You grew up with, I grew up with my brother, and we can very much address whatever need to be addressed,
Right.
And but that, I think, requires intentional work too, and all that.
Totally. Yeah, I think with that, and especially some of this other stuff, a great deal of knowing oneself and understanding of, okay, I have a tendency to do this, so if I don't communicate this happens, and to foresee that, and so course correcting along the way of like, one of the things that's been helpful for me is this nonviolent communication framework for expressing my needs and how I feel, but in a non-combative way. So rather than like, oh, you always do this, blah, 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 it's just like, oh, don't point the finger, express how I feel when this specific data point example happens, and then explain the why because of my own insecurity or my own blah, blah, blah. And then specifically the last part of the formula is request for future, action. So next time, could we just do this? And it's almost like hard to have a combative relationship if you outline it all like that. It's not always easy to go through the formula, but just having that ability to use that like any other tool that we might have.
You know what it is? It's communication design.
It's
design.
I think that's maybe why I just love frameworks and stuff of like, designing communication or designing, you were talking about your design framework, that I renamed so I can let's see if I can memorize it. The first one was it was like function, faction, feel was the first one. Function?
Sort of. Yeah. So I call it 3-dimensional design.
Yeah.
So
let's not do mine. Let's do yours.
No, that's it though. Function, fashion, feel.
Okay.
But feel, not
It's
meaning
more
like,
soul.
Yeah, soul. It's more like, there's got to be another word for it.
Yeah, we'll have to.
I'm not sold on feel yet.
Yeah. It's more of like almost a vibe than a feel. But
we're on the right track. If anybody has an idea,
put it in the comments what the last F should be, and it might make its way onto the website. We'll see. Nice, dude. Braxton, this has been awesome. Last thing before we wrap, where can people find you? Actually, 2 things. Where can people find you online?
At Braxton Manley on the socials.
So Braxley is just Braxton Manley.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some girl came up with it in the group, and so
back in college.
And it
stuck.
Yeah, her name was Leah. So Leah came up with it, and
shout out Leah.
And so she was like, just combine the names, and I was like, all right, well, we'll go with it. It's a class project. Who cares?
Great point too. Just to double click is like, you didn't worry about the name. You didn't worry about the website and the LLC. You're just like, whatever, get the fit. But anyway, Braxley on the socials.
Yeah. Check us out. And Mastic is the new gum company. So
Nice.
stay tuned. I'm really excited about that.
Awesome, dude. And then
Peace, Love, Hormones.
Peace, Love, Hormones, the big three. Is there anything, any sort of challenge or ask of the audience to think for themselves to take away from this? One of the things that I'm taking away is having like just speed to output and getting real world feedback, and then building systems to sort of define your own like unique advantages or unfair advantages. And third one is just kind of reflecting on how you maybe lifestyle design of how you want it to be. You've been able to carve out this cool thing with your girlfriend and with your brother, and now this new venture. Those are just my immediate takeaways off the top of my head. Is there anything you would challenge the audience to do, or just any other takeaways that has been helpful for you that might be helpful for someone listening?
I really love encouraging everybody to just give your brand some soul and really try and like fall in love with what you're doing. And if you can, design something that, really feels meaningful to you. Like you're fighting for something in life, and then let that translate into like the copy you're using and how you develop relationships with your customers and your approach to brand. Design it so that, another design definition I like is it's art with purpose. So like make your brand feel like an art project and like it's an expression of someone's real creativity.
I love that. All right, everyone listening, find your soul. I've heard this also like moments of shine or moments of charm. So however you want to think of it, but I like the way that you put it with soul, and it certainly, you could see that in your products. You can see that in you. Like, look at you, dude. You're a soul man. So I appreciate you coming on, man. And thanks for sharing the message.
Heck yeah. Thank you, Mitchell.
Cool. Thanks, y'all.
Thanks, everybody.